Hello, everyone. So this is going to be the second of the virtual aftercare videos. And so I'm going to go over some of the most common topics that we would cover during aftercare. And this also happened a lot at the retreat whenever I was helping facilitate and that sort of thing. And so this is probably one of the most important things to, get over like a difficult experience or to process the emotions in your psilocybin journey or really any journey. And also, this is the same way to process just difficult experiences, trauma, other things that can come up in your life, because this is really fundamentally simple. And this is something that we probably taught like 80% of the people that came through because it was needed and it was really useful for the people that apply this. And so I'll give a couple examples of experiences where this process really comes into play, just not only in your life, but really, when it comes to integrating a psychedelic experience. And so I'm going to go over these 3 steps, and these 3 steps are fundamentally how to process and release an emotion. And so before I get started, why this is so important is because all of our difficulties in life and the problems that we have come from an unprocessed emotion or an experience that we're still attached to and that we haven't completely released yet and moved forward from. And so at the base of all of our identity, people come to a psychedelic experience sometimes to have an ego death. And at the base of like all the problems inside our mind that we imagine and the worry and guilt and shame and whatever else from the past is really seated with an emotion at the core of it. And so if you learn how to process these emotions, your life will become more fluid, things will start to open up more, and you'll feel more connected and more yourself every single day of doing this. And I would say personally in my own work over years of working on myself and, doing psychedelics really intentionally and processing experiences that were good and bad and all the area in between, I would say this simple process of dealing with these emotions in a really productive way has been the best growth mechanism for myself in my life and has brought the most fruit and the most joy and the most reconnectedness with myself. And so for a little context, I spent like hundreds of thousands on hospital bills and psychiatrists and pharmaceutical medications and everything else before finding something this simple. And what you able to distill something down to its essence, it's a really powerful tool for yourself. And so I'll just get started and we'll go over this real quickly here. So, the first thing about an emotion is it literally means to emote, which means to move outward. And so emotions are here to literally express themselves. And they're not good or bad. And the most important perspective to take on emotion is that they're not good or bad. They're just an emotion. And when we're able to untie our thoughts about emotions and also untie our thoughts about our experiences from the past and the things that we imagine moving forward, and we're able just to process these things as they're not, so unique experiences. They're just experiences themselves. And that perspective is a way to really hold yourself in an open awareness, and an open awareness is able to process and feel and release emotions much more quickly than a very focused, if you imagine what it feels or what it looks like to be in your fight or flight nervous system, it's a very focused, very intentional, very kind of either escape or attack or move or hide type of attention. And a healing experience is a much more expanded experience. It's one where you hold yourself open, you allow yourself to feel, you invite those things that are on a deeper place inside of yourself to come to the surface, to be released and to emote and to finally move outward and onward so you can move forward in your life. And so, the first step of any emotion is to just allow it to be experienced, is to feel it. And so that's step one. And when we did this exercise at the retreat, we would usually, this is after a ceremony, we'd have people kind of revisit their experience during that journey. And, they would describe it as, usually you have like a deepening when you first take psychedelics. And then, sometimes you go through a difficult phase, and I call this like the breakdown. And this is where you kind of start to see difficult things, scary things. It could be negative. It could be negative experiences. It could be emotions from the past. Sometimes you get images and just whatever else can come up in an experience. It's your mind creating things that are all connected to emotion at the base. And what psilocybin specifically does is it takes you back into that emotion to experience it. And sometimes you feel like you're going to die. Sometimes it feels very difficult. Sometimes you're just downright scared. And so when you're reflecting on your journey, you can go back to that emotion that's connected to that experience. And what that experience brought up is that emotion. And if you can go process it, and you can do this completely sober, you can do this weeks or months after a ceremony. And I do this, and this is so productive. And you can bring up that emotion, process it, release it, and get the benefits of why that psychedelic journey brought that thing up. And you have the breakthrough. Anytime you have a breakdown, it's the emotion and the mind that's around that thing that sort of got stuck to be little opened and released. And so you can do that as part of the integration process. And so this is something that we would do as an exercise after basically all psychedelic journeys. They don't have to be a negative experience, but you can bring up an emotion about any experience you've had from the past and process it fully and release it. And so one of the things that we would do is I would just ask, so like say a scary dragon came up in your psychedelic experience, right? And so I would just ask the participant, where do you feel the emotion of like that you felt during that experience? And they would sometimes say their heart, sometimes say like their arms, their head, like, I'd have them bring it up, and I would often have them describe like, which emotion is it? Can you describe even just the feeling of an emotion? It could be kind of a sharp pain, or it could be just like a slow down, soft numbness or something. And so just have them describe that emotion. And sometimes they'll say fear or, guilt or sadness or something specific. And then just identify, just take a pause and for a moment feel in your body or around your body where that emotion rests within you. And just so you can have something to, do this exercise with. And then, go through sometimes the first process of, dealing and processing with this emotion. So if you want to take a second and bring up, it could be something from your past or something from, a difficult experience that you had or something from your journey, and feel where the emotion that's connected to that is at. And I'll give you just a couple seconds to, take a pause and feel and be present and allow this thing just to come to the surface, and so we can look at it a little bit more directly. Okay. And so, if you might feel it around your heart or your shoulder or your eyes, a lot of stuff is in our head, obviously, where we store a lot of information. And so be present and just take a minute and allow yourself to, without judgment, feel that emotion. And when we're at the retreat, we would often do this together. We can all feel the emotion that one person's feeling, and we can all experience and hold the space for that emotion. So what you're doing is holding the space for that emotion just to exist, and for yourself just to experience it. And acknowledge it. There's nothing negative about it. There's nothing bad. And just being present with it. And what you'll experience is like that emotion is like an envelope. And once you bring presence and bring attention to it, it just starts to open and starts to just release the energy and dissipate the energy around it. And it's important not to like want it to release or try to control it. You're just being present and just experiencing it. And just this experience of it is the beautiful act of, letting it go. Because that's a natural process of it. It's here to emote. It's here to move. It's here to express. And once its energy is dissipated, there won't be anything of that emotion left, and it will just be you beneath the surface. Well done. So that's kind of the first step, is just returning back into that place where you're intentionally feeling and experiencing emotion. Because what happens as adults, we get busy, we think, we drive, we put things to the side. We don't necessarily process everything in our life. And so taking a minute out of your day just to process and feel an emotion and bring that presence and attention back into yourself is a profound act of self-love and a profound act of understanding who you are. Because the more you look into these things and the more you release these things, the more you come back into your innocence and your natural presence, and you're able to walk around non-reactive and have more of that connectedness to carry you throughout the day and to feel grounded and to feel secure in yourself and to live without like a fight or flight reaction to reality. And it's a beautiful, beautiful healing process. And so that is essentially the first step of processing emotion or processing an experience, or also processing things that happen in a psychedelic journey. It's just kind of bring your attention to that emotion, feeling it, allowing it to express, let the energy dissipate. And one more thing I'll add is whenever you bring your attention to emotion, the reason that it's still within us is because we have, as a matter of fact, some sort of resistance to that emotion or to that experience. And so sometimes bringing attention just to the resistance we have to that emotion sort of opens that doorway to that emotion allowing itself to express, because like we just kind of had a couple layers around that emotion that we're kind of keeping it trapped. And so letting that attention go to that resistance and just letting the emotion kind of exist and just be until it wants to flutter away, and and then bring your attention back into yourself and you can process the next thing. And so for the next step into this is, sometimes we'll kind of perpetually feel an experience or continue to bring it up in our mind, or we'll see something that continues to kind of come up in our life. And so the next step, if an emotion doesn't naturally just release and dissipate and the energy kind of go away like we just experienced, then the next step is just actually letting it go. And we have to make a decision, like a light switch inside of ourselves, to be like, I'm ready to let go. I'm willing to let go of this. And so if an emotion doesn't completely go away from us just feeling it, then it's time to make a choice to let it go and intentionally just hold space for that emotion and say, I'm willing and ready to let go. And forgiveness is a big part of letting go. And also releasing blame around emotions or experiences, towards ourselves, towards others, is a big part of releasing the, trauma and previous things that happened in our life. And you won't be able to let go of things if you don't release blame. And so you've got to let blame go, and you've got to bring your awareness back to a place of healing and forgiveness. And what forgiveness does is it sort of like closes the envelope on the past and just remembers it as something that won't happen again. It sort of closes the book on that chapter of what typically repeats as a cycle. And it's a really important step in order to move forward, and also to letting go. We've got to forgive and ultimately forget of this experience, and so that it no longer continues to sort of recycle in our minds and our lives. And so the next step after feeling an emotion is just letting it go. And you can practice letting go of things in your life. And it's important after you let go of something is that you build something new. You put something new there, whether it's an intention, whether it's a new way of thinking. If previously you might have been afraid of new and challenging experiences. And let's use like an actual maybe example in your life. It's like you chose to sort of like move houses or change locations or change a job, or there's changes in your relationship, or even if you just set a boundary or change your diet or something, whenever you let go of something old, instill something new. How do you want to think? What's the new behavior? What's the new habit you can instill there? And if you're just letting go of an emotion, set an intention about how you'd like that part of your mind to operate. Because who we're talking to when we speak with the emotions is usually the subconscious mind. Because the conscious mind thinks in thoughts, in tangibles, things that you can define in as like containers of like logic, essentially. The emotions are more deeper. They're a subconscious level, and that's how our subconscious mind communicates and creates in our life. And so after you release an emotion, have an intention of like, how you'd like your mind to work in that way. It just let go of this, this painful experience or this fear or something that was sort of dragging its feet in your life. And now it's released. How would you like it to look? How would you like your life to look? How would you like your mind to look? Do I want it to, be more creative? Do I want it to be more positive? Do I want people to show up and be more responsive to, my intentions and how I'd like to live and have more joy in that experience in life? And so it's important that letting go step of emotions and just bringing attention to that and letting go of the blame and letting go of, whatever is connected to that emotion. It could be experience, it could be a previous love, it could be something, that you're just attached to from the past, like something in your diet or anything else like that. And so practice that process of letting go and instilling something new in your life, because there's always going to be something there. When you create space, something else will show up, and that's a beautiful rhythm of life just showing itself. And so that process of letting go is sort of the next step if, an experience or something difficult doesn't totally release, is you have to intentionally let that thing go. And so let's move on. This is the third thing, right? And so if there's a difficult experience or an emotion or something that keeps showing up in your life and feeling it doesn't make it go away, letting go of it doesn't make it go away, then sometimes we have to learn something new. This is the third thing, right? And so, if you notice, this is kind of going in layers of complexity. It's like if, feeling it doesn't solve the problem and letting it go doesn't solve the problem, then oftentimes we have to improve and upgrade our thinking or ourselves in order to change sort of how we feel and how our life is showing up. And so this is just another important one to kind of ask, what do I need to know? What do I need to learn? Self-introspection and just asking yourself the questions. And your mind is a beautiful machine, and it naturally and intuitively solves problems. And so if you get to this point where you literally just don't know, ask yourself and have no judgment about the answer. The first answer is what works. And so just listen to yourself when you get to this place. Is there something I need to learn? Is there something I need to do? Is there something I need to change in my life? And your mind will just give you the answer, and it'll come as a thought or a feeling or an insight or an idea. And, instill that belief if it needs to be built, if you need to believe in yourself more, if you need to, take more action in your life, if you need to take more time to yourself, begin that process and that journey of doing that. And this is a really important part of the integration process, is listening to your own insight, your own intuition, and be responsible for what you need to do for yourself. And so the third step is learning something new. And oftentimes it's, this is coupled with making a change in your life. And so if you remember the first video, it's about kind of what's a commitment that you have to yourself to move forward. And the second video is about how do we heal the parts of ourselves that have sort of been controlling our life, maybe the joystick of our subconscious mind that's been creating this reality. How do we go deep enough within ourselves to continue to make changes, whether we're doing psychedelics in our life or just changing ourselves? This is such a powerful way to change yourself, is go back to those emotions, feel those emotions, release those emotions, instill a new belief, instill a new pattern, instill a new idea, or in this case, learn something new and make a change in your life in order to establish this new value, this new activity, this new habit, this new lifestyle, whatever this thing is that's so important for you. That's how you integrate in life, right? And so this is going to be it. I want to keep this video short so everyone actually watches them and gets value from them. And I would say from the hundreds of people I've shared this with, it has worked and it's been universally effective at helping people process and move through emotions. And you can take years of life and compress it down to 15 minutes of change by doing this exercise, and especially creating a habit where you allow yourself just to exist in a space. I sit on my balcony in the mornings and I don't even look at my phone, and I just be present with myself. And some days it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's, probably an hour some days, where I'm just present and I allow myself to feel, and I allow those doors to open to my inner self and just allow myself to express. There's stuff in there, and hold space for whatever wants to come up. And as it comes up, you sort of start to clean out your energy from the root, from the bottom, because you're just allowing things to finally come up to the surface. And you want to do it in a space where you feel safe, where you feel protected, and where you feel like you can hold that love for yourself. And if you don't feel comfortable in the initial phases of doing this by yourself, bring someone else on board. You're going to help them and you're going to help yourself by doing this. We would do this all the time at the retreat with people that were kind of going through difficult situations. And it's beautiful to kind of share this experience with a partner, with a friend, or with somebody else that'd be open with it, open with doing this with you. I've even done this with therapists before. It's been fantastic. And so I'll leave this with you. Nothing but love for you guys. This is really going to help you move forward, and this is such an easy thing to apply in your life. So enjoy, and the next step, we're going to have Mar talk to you guys about some incredible stuff with family healing, some other things that have been really beneficial for integration and understanding like how to heal inner child, some really great stuff that she is an incredible teacher at. And so take my word for it, it's going to be incredible, and that'll be the next videos that you guys watch. Take care.